You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, days, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter, here. I apologize in advance if my voice sounds a little weak. Yesterday, I was watching AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view, celebrating 5 years of All Elite Wrestling, and I completely fucked my voice up. So I've been keeping it. I've been resting my voice today, but this documentary is out now by the time you hear this, so I definitely want to make sure you had a review up for it. This is American Mileage, and it is directed by Tim Hardiman, and it follows a rock star, blues singer, the one-man band himself. No, not Heath Slater. If you're a wrestling fan, you'll get that reference. It follows Cam Cole, who goes ahead and takes his one-man show from the UK and goes ahead and comes to America for the first time, his first US tour. And I'm a big fan of documentaries. I've really been getting into documentaries a lot more in the last 5 years or so. Just because I don't review a ton of documentaries, even though I have been doing it a little more. I'm definitely watching a lot more. And I was really excited to see the trailer for this because I've grown up in a musical household, as I've talked about. My dad, he was a musician. My mom sings and is a musician. And I've probably been to more open mic nights. I've probably been to as many open mics in my life as I've been film. Like, I've gone to a lot of open mics, a lot of concerts. And one thing that I love about Cam Cole's spirit is that you feel like if the open mic night experience was a person, it would be Cam Cole. And I'm not just saying that for the musical acumen that he has, but on top of the fact that just that experience, that warmth, that glow that you can feel from someone who's truly appreciative of people watching their art, experiencing their art, enjoying their art with them, being in that space. That's Cam Cole like a motherfucker. And that comes across so much throughout this documentary, which really adds, quite frankly, to the charm of it. But Cam Cole, you probably know, had a prominent bump in his fame after appearing in Ted Lasso Season 1. That's how I discovered him. And I've definitely listened to his music since then, and I was like, wow, okay, man, this brother's got something. Mama is his most popular song, and that's a great fucking jam, by the way. But one thing about this documentary that I really like that Tim Hardiman does is that at first it starts off kind of like a history of the blues, especially in the Deep South, because that's where Cam Cole is traveling throughout the U.S. And you're getting these lessons in the blues and about where the blues came from, and you're meeting these incredible blues artists. R.L. Boyce, to name one. Bobby Rush. Oh my God. I'll get to him in a moment, but there is this point throughout the documentary where the documentary kind of makes a switch and becomes more about Cam Cole and about his day-to-day as far as doing this tour. And honestly, it's the best thing the documentary could have done because it puts Cam Cole front and center, which is a great thing because Cam Cole's a very fascinating dude. Just a few things here. He talks about how he's tried every drug known to man with the exception of crystal meth. That is something he straight up says. He talks about how, you know, he's living in a truck, going across country. Kind of like a truck RV kind of hybrid. You know, he's got a wood burning stove. He's using solar energy. He's got a compost toilet that he's using. Like all these very grassroots sort of things to live within his means, clearly, but still live, more off the grid still live simply. Um, it's really quite fascinating, but it's definitely not one of those moments of grandeur where he's doing it to show off for anyone or show off for PETA or anything like that. Like, this is just how he lives. And there's a point in a documentary where he talks about how when I'm 80, 90, I want to go ahead and have stories to tell, and I'm not going to have stories to tell if I stay where I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead and take this leap. So just off that alone, it's fucking inspired. Like, whether the tour was successful or not, spoiler, it is. But the fact that that's his mindset as an artist, as someone who has definitely achieved fame and definitely has his fans, and I'm sure is doing quite well. The fact that he still has that hustle, that grind aspect, that grind mindset, is something that I really appreciate about him, and it actually makes me want to listen to him even more than I already do, to be quite frank. And this also feels like a documentary with someone who is not struggling, but is having these deep conversations with themselves about who they are. He talks about how he's perceived as far as who's Cam Cole. People think of me as a gypsy musician dude, but what do I think of myself? What do I think of myself as an artist? And it's a question that the documentary does a good job of answering in terms of the conversations that he's having with these blues musicians. And I gotta give the director, I gotta give Hardiman a lot of credit in the sense of he goes into the racial aspect of the blues because, of course, like most music, it comes from people of color, and there is that kind of gatekeeping aspect. Shout out to Drake. There is that gatekeeping aspect of, are you, culturally appropriating this? Are you playing this music from a place of purity, as it were? And there's a conversation that he does have, and look, I've talked about my feelings about Elvis. I could go on the whole thing about that, but if you listen to podcasts, you know how I feel about Elvis by this point. But he has this conversation with this brother, Jimmy Duck Holmes, and look, I understand where he's coming from in the sense of, we don't want our music, feeling like it's being appropriated. We want it to come from a pure place, but you never feel like Cam Cole is coming from a disingenuous place. Like, he seems like a real dude. Like, it's very similar to the first time that I heard Kenny Wayne Shepherd play the blues, where I went, oh, like I remember being shocked when I found out he was white. I was like, oh shit, that's a surprise. Like, and if I hadn't already seen what Cam Cole looked like, I probably honestly wouldn't have even thought about it. But but um, but Jimmy Duck Holmes has this conversation with him, and it feels personal. It feels personal in a way that is a little uncomfortable. And I was sitting there as I'm watching the documentary going, damn, dude, like, Cam Cole doesn't represent, he's not, he's not coming from at this from a malicious place. Like, cut him some slack a little bit. It felt less like a conversation, more like he was preaching at him. And it's a really interesting dynamic. And you see Cam kind of digesting everything in real time. And it's a really fascinating part of the documentary. But then, by contrast, he has this very similar conversation in Jackson, Mississippi with Bobby Rush. And that conversation in particular is one of the highlights of the documentary for me. I don't want to spoil it, but when you get to that part of the documentary, I actually had to pause the documentary in because I was crying. Some of the stuff that you find out about Bobby Rush and what he's gone through and what the blues means to him. It's really powerful, and it really speaks to how music can heal. I mean, to the extent that it can, obviously, but how music can heal, how music can inspire, and you can see Cam Cole very similar to the Jimmy Duck Holmes conversation, really absorbing all that in real time. And there definitely feels like Cam Cole always comes across as grateful. That's something that I absolutely love about the dude. Anytime he's talking to someone, anytime he's talking to a fan or signing an autograph or posing for a selfie with someone. Like it, it all feels so genuine, and you can just tell that he's so happy that people, you know, appreciate his art. Whether it's 20 people, on the street that grows to 50 people on the street, or whether he's playing like a venue and there's a couple hundred people there. Like Cam Cole just seems grateful for the opportunity and the fact that people continue to want to hear him play, and it's really inspired in that way, and it comes across very, very sweet. And the more the documentary goes on, the more I just found myself going, yeah, I like. I don't know how you could come away from this documentary not loving this dude. One thing that I love is that there's a point where he's talking about his guitars and how um, the guitars are falling apart, but how he's able to go ahead and maybe like add a whammy bar, add a volume knob, add these make these modifications to guitar that make it easier for him to play and still keep the guitar sound. And he talks about how, if this were to go wrong, I would adjust it like this. And it's so cool how he's able to do that. And he talks about how his guitars are almost like his own encrypted code, because other people try to play his guitars and they can't play it the way he does. It doesn't sound the way that he does when he plays. So it adds this level of individuality to him as an artist. And that's a subtle thing that I think a lot of people kind of discount and just go, buy a new guitar. But I really love the fact that the documentary kind of pauses to have this conversation, because I would play, if I knew how to play, like I would play guitar differently than he would, or Cam Cole's playing a guitar differently than BB would. Like it's not there. It's not an all one size fits all sort of thing. And the fact that the documentary kind of pauses to have that little mini conversation is something that I really appreciated. Last thing I did want to point out, because I do want to leave a lot of this documentary for y'all to explore. He talks about how he doesn't need drugs to write, but also, why wouldn't I use drugs to write? And honestly, I relate to that like a motherfucker. I've talked about on the podcast before about how I usually have about 50 things that I want to say about, insert movie here. This documentary applies too. And weed really helps slow things down and just kind of helps me focus, which I'm sure I have undiagnosed fill in the blank here. But it's a very interesting artistic admission that I appreciate. I wish more artists would just kind of be open about that. That, hey, I have a shot of whiskey before I write a song, or I smoke a bowl before I write a song. I appreciate the honesty. And maybe my favorite quote of the whole documentary is, great music is not distinguished by the amount of money that's thrown at it. It's distinguished by vibe, by the people. There are so many artists that I've been able to discover that a lot of people just probably that some people just might have missed, whether it's Tyler the Creator, because I know a lot of people. I've had to introduce Tyler the Creator to a lot of my friends. Whether it's whether it's video game scores. Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorite scores of all time. I think it's absolutely incredible. A lot of people are discovering Kendrick in a whole other way because of this beef with Drake. Lupe Fiasco has a new album coming out in like a month. Saint Vincent. There's so much great music out there. So I would encourage all of you, give Cam Cole a listen if you haven't listened to his stuff. I would highly recommend it. It's quite fucking wonderful. I was just listening to Beck the other day. I hadn't listened to Beck in a minute, and I was just like, man, I love Beck's stuff. So there's so much great music out there. And I say the same thing about film. I love my Marvel movies. I love my comic book shit. But I'm watching indie film too. I've been dipping my toes more to horror. I fucking love sci-fi. I love documentaries. Like don't limit yourself to one one quadrant of something that you enjoy. Like spread your wings out a little bit. Let yourself potentially be uplifted by something new, be excited by something new, be upset by something new. Like, that's how you continue to refine your tastes, and that's what makes art fun. So at the end of the day, as far as this documentary, this is a solid A. There's nothing about this that I have a complaint about. I love the fact, as I mentioned, that Hardiman has the balls to have the conversation about the blues and about where it came from, and have these black artists go ahead and share their anger and their frustration, and rightfully so, quite frankly, as far as where they're coming from. But I love that Cam Cole was willing to take it on the chin. He feels like a different person by the time you get to the end of the documentary, and I don't know if he'll do like a wide, like hit all 50 states, but if he's ever on the West Coast, where I'm at, I would definitely go see him. Like, my partner and I'd make a point to go see him. We were actually listening to his latest album. Because there is an American Mileage album that corresponds with the documentary. I highly recommend you check it out, by the way. But we were listening to his album Unleash a couple days ago while we were cooking, and it was fucking great. And she was just like, "Oh," she's like, "Who is this?" I'm like, "Oh, this is Cam Cole from Ted Lasso." She's like, "Oh, hell yeah." By the way, I would recommend Freedom, Look into the Moon, and Slave to the Breaks, by the way, for the Unleash album. But I really enjoyed this documentary. I feel like I learned a lot about Cam Cole. It is just it's cool to see kind of that open mic night experience on a larger scale, especially with the whole one-man band aspect. I really enjoyed this, and like I said, I feel like I learned more about him than I knew going in, which is always one of the marks that a documentary needs to hit for me. So hell yeah to this documentary. Please check it out. It'll be out now. It's out now, so go rent the shit, go buy the shit. Support this. Support Cam Cole. Check out his stuff. You will not regret it. But solid A for American Mileage. So, American Mileage, have y'all seen it? What'd you think of it? Let me know in the comments. You can follow yours truly on YouTube at The Real Pineapple. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It definitely helps me out. You can find me on YouTube at The Real Pineapple. That's REEL Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow yours truly on Blue Sky at realpineapple.bsky.social. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and the Twitter at jhunterrealpineapple. That's jhunter and then REEL and then pineapple. You can follow me on Letterboxd at Black Shazam, and you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/therealpineapple. By the time y'all listen to this, I will have my corresponding interview with Cam Cole and Tim Hardiman for the documentary. We had an absolute blast talking. The interview is like 45-ish minutes. We get into a lot. About the documentary. Some stuff that was left on cutting room floor. We talk about drugs. We talk about musical influences. Like we talk about fame. We talk about how, living. We cover a wide range of topics, and it's one of my favorite interviews. Like I'm really blessed. I'm really blessed by the interviews I've gotten to do since the podcast has happened, and this is definitely one of my favorites. So definitely check it out. Please check it out. It's well worth your time, and I hope y'all enjoy it. But you can go ahead and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts: SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneUp, and Samsung Podcasts, to name a few, at The Real Pineapple. Coming up this month, because it is Pride Month and it is my birthday month, boop boop, I'm gonna go ahead and have some not documentaries. I'm gonna have some reviews for some Pride Month stuff, as well as some stuff that I just want to review because it's my birthday month. Damn it! So I'm gonna have reviews for as far as on the Pride Month end. I've got just gonna throw out a few things here, but I'm gonna have a review for Baby Reindeer. I'm gonna have a review for But I'm a Cheerleader. Oh gosh, what else? And some other stuff. I'm still finalizing the list. But then as far as stuff I want to review, I'm gonna review like for like Hot Rod. Gonna review for Hot Tub Time Machine. Yeah, I've got some fun stuff coming on the pipeline for y'all. So stay tuned and make sure that you're subscribed so you know when that stuff is dropping. My review for Dune Part 2 and for X-Men 97, I had special guest host Brandon, who's been on the podcast before. I had him on to help review those, as well as the homie Nick from the Afternoon Tune. Went ahead and talked about Dune Part 2 and X-Men 97. The stream is up now on my YouTube and on my Twitch. But the audio will be on the channels here by the end of the week, so go ahead and look forward to that. And then I'm also going to have reviews coming up for Challengers and Furiosa. So I'm excited to go ahead and review those as well. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, take care of each other. Give someone a hug, give someone a compliment. We got all use some more positivity out there, y'all. But thank you so much again for your support. And never forget, as always, to keep it real.